got it?
Got it.
All right.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, John. How are you doing?
It's JT.
JT.
I don't know. You can cut that part out.
I can call you whatever I want to call you. How about that?
Hey, you ain't going to call me anything that you've been called before.
Yeah.
Especially by...
So today, January 19th, 2025.
Yep. Very anticipated day tomorrow.
Yep. Very anticipated day. Yep. We thought of a name for our podcast, so that's good.
Yeah.
Maga Debrief podcast.
Maga Debrief.
Now that's what we're calling it.
That's what we'll call it.
Unless I go online and find out somebody already did it.
All right. So what today has made America great again?
Today, my son Roman came in and he said, "Did you know TikTok is back up?"
Yep, holy Trump.
Yeah.
Holy Trump. That is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
That he was able to do that. I mean, it's like, there's an old adage that says, how does that go? An obstacle is what you see when you take your eyes off your goal.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And he doesn't see any obstacles. He
No.
just sees his goals. He just goes,
He has a tendency to achieve his goals.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Amazing.
There's only a few things that I've known that he didn't achieve that he was trying to achieve.
Yeah.
The 2020 election, right?
Yeah,
So,
but
yeah,
it
was a dirty game being played.
Yeah, it was a very
but
dirty game.
he didn't stop either. He just kept going.
He kept going. And by the way, I saw Lara Bush.
Lara Trump.
I'm sorry, Lara Trump. God, oh my gosh.
That's a dirty word.
Woo!
Bush.
I'm in trouble now. He's gonna put me
Deep. I saw Deep State Laura the other day.
Yeah, no. I saw Lara Trump talking about, and she told Trump that it worked out better this way.
And that's definitely true.
And I think it is true.
He didn't have
tremendously true.
I mean, look at who's behind him now.
Yeah.
I mean, the team that they put together, or that he's put together, I guess, is really tremendous.
It's kind of like watching your children grow up, and you know they're going to make a mistake. You try and talk them out of it, and they don't, and they have to make their own mistakes.
Yeah, they don't listen.
And so that's kind of what happened to the public.
Yeah.
Look, guys, they put Biden in there, and it's going to be a disaster.
Yeah.
Socially, economically, in every way.
Yeah.
And so they did. They put him in there, and although I don't believe they did, personally, I'm proud to say that I didn't believe 2020 was completely
legitimate,
above board.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was rigged.
Well,
I think the biggest difference was this year, or in 2024 versus 2020, is that the oversight, right? And I think you were telling me that Lara Trump,
Lara,
you're gonna get in trouble. Lara Trump's gonna show up.
I'll be upfront with you. Lara Bush, I liked her.
I didn't know
I did like her. I think she was a good person. I think she's, but Lara Trump, she's the one that made this happen as far as the voting is concerned. What was it? 230,000 new people that was helping them with the elections. 500 attorneys that were helping them with the election. 500 attorneys.
Yeah, and
they were paying those attorneys. Those attorneys, were there voluntarily.
They were trying to save their country.
Yeah, they were trying to save their
patriots.
countries. Yep,
Yeah.
patriots. And they were all they were doing is making sure that people voted.
Yeah.
And voted. They had a chance to vote, and it was a fair election, and it was.
Yeah.
It was a fair election. Now, what happened to the other 20 million voters that voted for Biden? How does a guy, Joe, that has went for president twice before, didn't even get into it, didn't even get into the running.
Yeah. He wasn't a serious contender at all.
And his ratings were so low. And look how low they were before, he got 2020. get that many more votes than Barack Obama, who is the,
Right, it didn't happen. It was a fraud.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't. It's pretty impressive though.
And he stayed in his basement. He didn't go out, and when he did, he only had a few hundred people.
Yeah,
if that.
There was no campaigning.
No,
they were just rigging it.
Yeah,
their campaigning. I shouldn't say there's no campaigning. Their campaigning is they're using the legacy media, which they own, right? So they've got a bought and paid for candidate.
Yep.
It really, you got your BlackRock candidate, or your you could say Federal Reserve candidate. People say BlackRock, but BlackRock's just the recipient. They're just the recipient of the corporate welfare.
They're another pawn.
But they're the same company, really. Federal Reserve, BlackRock. Anyways, but so you have the Federal Reserve, the central bank candidate, and then you have the guy who's trying to break in, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting too, because I think if you look at older generations, people used to believe that they were free, that the American dream, the American ideal was a real thing that was actually happening. And it's strange because I think after 2020, 2019, with COVID, when people started to realize how much they're being lied to, they changed. You woke up to the fact that you're inside of a dystopia, right? But the idea was still there, right? And people want to be free. Yeah. They really want to be free. And
let me talk about the COVID thing real quick. Yeah. If the Dems had simply used common sense with the people on COVID, they'd have voted for Biden. I really believe that. In other words, if they weren't hypocritical about it, like Newsom going, having a party without the mask and everything else, things like that mattered to people. They start looking at it and they go, wait a minute. Or things they can't go see their loved one in a nursing home.
Yeah.
All of those ridiculously they can go to a bar, but they can't go to church. It was those common sense things that ruined them.
Right. Because if you were just looking at the vaccines, which were a fraud,
right? If
that was the only fraud,
we wouldn't even know they were a fraud if they hadn't have been hypocritical about the whole deal.
Well, we probably would have, just because of Robert Malone and Joe Rogan. Yeah. But it wouldn't have been as big a deal. And the people who do watch the legacy media, they wouldn't have. A lot of them figured it out, right? Yeah. I mean, you have a lot of people who swap sides, and it's because they're so flagrant. It's not.
RFK Jr.
It's hard not to see it.
One of them.
It's hard not to see it.
Tulsi Gabbard was another. There's so many that switched over.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that Lara Trump said. These weren't Democrats. They were deep blue Democrats.
Yeah.
And they were just good people that realized what was going on. And then they turned to independent, and then they turned to Republican.
Right. Conservative, Republican.
It's not really Republican.
Those are all labels. They're just...
It's really MAGA.
They haven't changed.
No.
Right? They still have
that's what she said.
Mostly the same kind of thought process, but I guess it brought people together when you have these totalitarian sort of, they're looking for, it's funny because they call it democracy and stuff like that, but what they're looking for is a totalitarian state. They don't believe in human rights and dignity and value. And they don't think people have value even, right? I mean, and which, there's so many things that they've done that are an indicator of that. I mean, one, the rigging of the healthcare system in general. And there's so many things that people, they'll look at and they'll say with really just recent stuff, right? With COVID and, you have the vaccine injuries and all this stuff going on. and basically we were lied to. I wasn't supposed to get sick after I got this, and all this stuff, right?
But you need another booster, Joe. All you need is the 12th booster, and it'll be great. You'll be fine, man. You'll be fine.
Yeah. But it's funny because people look at that, but they don't realize how much everything was already rigged against them. Yeah. There's so many basic examples, but like the Obamacare solution.
Oh,
right?
My gosh.
Well, what kind of a solution was that? They just forced you to buy insurance.
And if you don't, what did they do?
They're going to get penalized. They're going to have to pay a fine. And this is supposed to be they're doing it for you, though. That? They're doing it for you, though, so that you have affordable health care.
Yeah, for everybody, Joe.
I know.
For everybody.
I know. And it's,
they're great at saying the right things.
Right. But it's people. I guess people catch on eventually. I think people really felt alone, though, when they had opinions like that before. Right? Back 20 years ago, right? And you got the HSA, right? So in order to get a health savings account, you have to get a high deductible health insurance plan,
right,
in order to get your HSA. And, they probably, I don't remember how they sold that, but I'm sure they sold it as, if you do this, then you get this great benefit. And they sold it as though they're giving you something when it's your money, right? So why do I have to buy your product in order to save money without you taking some of it?
Right.
Why are you going to take from my health savings unless I buy your product? Right? But then I think people would get sold on something like with the vaccine, because you can imagine with the vaccine, if you were sold on this vaccine, right? And all you have is the legacy media. And if that's all you have, then you're just JT sitting here and you're pissed off. But now you've got X and you've got Rumble and you've got TikTok. And everybody can see everybody else. Everybody can see everybody else, and you're not just one angry dude anymore.
Right.
So the game is just completely changed.
I've got a solution for healthcare.
Solution for healthcare.
Solution for healthcare.
Let's hear it.
It's a combination of both sides. I believe that we should pay into healthcare just like Obamacare type of thing. It comes out, it's going to be a tax. Because you got to take care of people that can't take care of themselves. Those that are of low income, they get sick just like people with high income.
Yeah.
So we've got to do that. Something's got to happen, and which we're doing anyway with Medicaid, right? I mean, we're paying it anyway. Yeah. So we're fooling ourselves that we're not. But if we do that, however, with the problem you and I have with that, is that when you get the government involved in running it, that's when all hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
That's where the money starts going out the window.
Mm-hmm.
Each state gets to vote on what company gets to run it. And they do that every 2 years or so. So it's a private company that actually runs it. Yeah. And depending upon how you run it, now, listen, walk with me for just a second. Let's say Texas has a great company that runs it, and Alabama or Tennessee don't.
Yeah.
Who do you think we're going to try and go for?
Right. Who are you going to get?
Bingo, exactly.
So you'd have competition.
Who are they to get? Let's try those guys.
Yeah.
It's called competition. That's what you and I want in the environment.
Mm-hmm.
But
right, I agree. What you do have to have competition in order for a business to be efficient.
Right.
If you don't have competition, it will not be efficient. There is no incentive for it to be efficient. Yeah.
Is a perfect example. There's no competition there.
Mm-hmm. You're right. There's so many things like that in our economy right now. Yeah.
It really is. But I think that I would like to look at something like that.
You know, I agree that there needs to be, you know, we need to support the people who are disabled and who can't work and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I agree. You know, you got to take care of people,
You got to
especially
be
if
compassionate.
especially if they're sick, right? We're Christians.
Right.
I have no problem with that.
Right.
And you know, I think it's the morally right thing to do. Government, you know, it's always scary giving them, even if it's local government or state government or whatever, it's scary to give them that kind of power, right? Because that is power.
That's what I'm doing. I'm taking the power away, but we're using their money. And I think that's exactly what the federal government should do. Just like schools. That's what's wrong with our school system. They weasel their way into money, and then what the Supreme Court says, if they're giving you money, then they have the right to have a say. I don't believe that. I disagree completely with that.
The government can't give you money.
They've just given us our own money.
Exactly. If they printed it, then they took it out of your pocket. That's what inflation
is. Exactly what they do.
Inflation is literally theft, because you're just adding printed money into the pool. Why can't if it's not theft, then why can't I just go print some money, right? There's a reason. They know it's theft.
I've got my printer right over here.
We'll just print it up, man. You know.
Why not?
They know it's theft, and so that's why. Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know about. So the solution for schools that I was thinking is you just have private schools, and I mean the ideal scenario to me is if you leave people alone and you quit screwing with their money and stealing from them. That's what inflation is, right? That's why we're all in debt. Is because they keep taking our money, right?
Economy.
So, and they want to own every house in America and just have us all paying rent. You'll own nothing and be happy concept. But the ideal scenario to me is if we could eliminate that entire system, then everybody just purchased their own stuff, right? I mean, if I could just afford to send my kid to school, but they already took my money to pay for public school, right? So that's where the problem lies, because they have all of the power whenever you hand it over like that. And the more centralized it is, the worse it is. And I like the idea of decentralizing it and bringing it to the states. Somewhat does that. I don't know though. I still.
Well, I got a question for you.
Maybe there's a better way though. I don't know.
You know what makes the Constitution of the United States different than every other constitution in the world?
Probably a lot of things, right?
Well, the major thing is ours is the only constitution that doesn't grant powers to the people. It takes away powers. It limits the powers, rather, of the government.
That is true. It's designed from the perspective of the citizen.
Right.
Yeah.
And so my question is, if that's the case, why is our government so huge?
Well, it's because it's not constitutional.
It's not constitutional. You know, and people don't realize that just a few months ago, the Supreme Court made a ruling on some small case that affected, in my belief, 90% of the government. You could do away with 90% of the government.
Chevron ruling.
Chevron ruling. Yeah. Exactly. There's not a government entity out there that doesn't apply to other than Congress.
Yeah.
You know, because none of them have the right.
Yeah.
They don't have the right.
FDA, SEC, FCC,
IRS, none of them have authority.
Yeah.
You know, and that authority is just given to them. You know, but not by the people. I didn't give it to them. You didn't give it to them. Nobody gave it to them. They just do it.
Yeah.
And Congress said, no. The Supreme Court said, no.
Yeah.
No, you can't do that. You don't have that power. And we haven't used that. And I bet you Trump, talking about MAGA, this is, he's going to do that. That's what my beliefs are.
Yeah,
He's
I hope he
gonna
does.
turn it,
I believe he will. So much of what I'm seeing is I'm very optimistic about.
Oh,
You
so
know,
am I.
you're putting RFK over the FDA, and he's
Couldn't have been a
gonna
better person.
rake him over the coals.
Yeah.
It's gonna be awesome. I don't know. So if you're trying to reform the FDA, because I know that what you're saying, right? You have carte blanche to do whatever you want with them at this point, right?
Right.
Because they are not legally
Right. Supreme Court already said
part
they
of the
have no
government.
power.
They have no
They
authority.
they cannot make laws. They cannot enforce laws.
Mhm.
You know, other than the ones given by Congress, the legislature. Legislature is the only branch of government
Right,
that makes
but they
the
can't.
laws.
They can't enforce those either, though.
Right.
They can only. Maybe regulate.
Well, they can enforce
I don't
it
know.
by
I don't know how
the
that
power of the executive branch.
Mhm.
Has the power to tell them you can enforce it.
Hmm.
You know, but they can't. What's happening is they're making their own rules.
Yeah,
Is what's happening.
they are writing law.
They're just
themselves,
writing
yeah.
laws.
Mhm.
And honestly, most of the laws that are on the books, none of the Congress, they don't write those laws.
Mhm.
Some guy that you know in the back room that you know was
It's the interns writing it
yeah,
up.
the interns are writing
Yeah.
it all up. You know,
Yeah.
and they don't know what it is. They don't have
Yeah.
time to read 1,500 page thing.
Yeah. That's what they were talking about. You know, doing individual laws instead of these.
Yeah.
You know, all the earmarks and everything that they've got going. You have 100 different things and $1 trillion
Yeah.
bill, and
And it's all a gotcha game because if you're a senator and I'm a senator and we oppose something, but we both vote for it, the reason we're voting for it is because we want something else that's in that dang bill.
Mhm.
That is so wrong.
Right, and that's
That is
why they do it.
wrong. Yeah, that's why they do it.
Because you have immunity. You can say,
Yeah.
"Oh, well, I wasn't voting for that.
Yeah,
I was voting for
this.
this." You know,
Yeah, and I couldn't help it. You know, I had to.
Mhm.
That's
Bullshit.
BS. Yeah.
Bullshit.
Let's just
Years-
one at a time. If you have to sit there in your damn office and write your signature on 1,000 different bills,
Great.
So be it. So be it.
Yeah.
That's your job. If you
Yeah.
don't want to do it, don't run.
Yeah.
Don't run. You know, and I think that's what we should do.
Mhm.
You know. So,
Yeah, it would be nice. It'd be nice if they could do it that way. Do you? I don't know. Do you think that things are going to change? Like as far as who's elected? So-
I believe that with the next 4 years, Joe, if and I probably shouldn't say this, knock on fake wood.
That's real wood.
Is it? I think it's processed wood. Sawdust is.
It's real wood.
If Trump survives the next 4 years, honestly, Joe, I wonder about that. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
flip of a coin. I mean,
It
there's
is.
So the world is against.
It's harder to stay alive than it is to assassinate somebody. Right?
Yeah.
If you've got somebody going after you,
Yeah.
it's much harder to play defense.
Yeah.
And
Much harder.
he's a
And I
big
think
target.
he has. I think he's given his life to God.
I think
Personally,
so.
I do.
You have to. You
Yeah.
have to. His
he
life
may
is
not
on
have
the line.
started out that way,
Mm-hmm.
but I've seen a big change in him. I've seen a big change in a lot of people
Yeah.
lately, and I think that's just the Holy Spirit,
Working.
working.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? And I think it's because of prayer. A lot of people are praying, trying to get it,
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's a huge force against it. This world doesn't belong, but to Satan. So this is Satan's world.
Yeah.
We're on it. But as far as Trump is concerned, in the next 4 years, I think that if he can accomplish some of the things that he's going to accomplish, looks like he is, they're not going to want to vote Democrat again. They're going to have a different party. That party is falling apart very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Falling apart. And people see through it. They see through it, and they don't know what to do next.
Yeah.
All they've got is the legacy media.
I think I think that does all stem from social media, like we were saying before. And I think if people have visibility, right, where you can't just be lied to, Satan's the father of lies.
Yep.
But if you can see the light, I mean, sunlight's the best disinfectant.
You heard about Young, right?
Young.
With CNN, he won that case. Another MAGA win.
Who's Young?
He's a security guy getting people out of Afghanistan.
You did tell me about that, yeah.
Yeah, you should. I was watching the videos of the trial, Joe. I mean, if you want to know how the legacy media lies to people and how they pull the wool over their eyes, it's all exposed in that. This guy, it was like he was planted to do this. I'll give you an example. One of the reporters trying to do the story would send him a text. Well, he noticed at the top, right-hand corner, there was a clock on there. What that meant was that text was going to be destroyed in a week. And on his and hers. Yeah. So he took pictures.
Yeah.
So he went through all of that. Then they being CNN, videotaped that the call that they tried to keep making to him, saying they're calling him, and he denied they called, showed it, they didn't have it. They showed how that was faked.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So they deliberately created like
a situation saying that they kept calling, but hey,
Right.
It was
so
a lie.
They manufactured the appearance of them calling him.
Yep.
And recorded it. As evidence.
That right there would be a red flag. Why would you record it?
Somebody should be going to jail for that.
Oh, I agree. And the judge even said to the attorney, Axelrod is his name, that he's lost all credibility.
Yeah. Right. Well, that's criminal. He's deliberately creating false evidence for a future lawsuit that he anticipates.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
That is crazy.
That is so criminal.
How deep this goes with the legacy media?
Yeah.
I mean, before you ever even start. Now, I don't know how this guy knew all this, but he knew right away. You could tell by his text and everything else. He kept saying he didn't want his name in it. He anticipated
the sleaziness. Yeah.
He says, I do not, 3 times in text, I do not want my name mentioned. I do not want my company's name mentioned. I do not want my name mentioned, as long as, what'd they do? It was a hit piece on him. It wasn't just a story. It was a hit piece on him.
Right.
Personally.
They were pretending like it was.
And he lost his business.
Yeah.
He's suing for $1 billion.
Yeah.
Now he's won the suit, and the damages were $5 million. Now the punitive damages come.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much they're going to be. I don't know if he's going to get.
They probably won't give him that.
Well, right now what the part that they're in on is in the trial is showing. Okay, what assets do you have, CNN? They had to show those assets. In 2022, they were 600 million. 2023, it's 400 million. And no, it was 400 million in 2022, 600 million in 2023, 400 million, I think, in 2024. And that's how much they were worth. And so they couldn't pay the $1 billion if they wanted to. Even though
they don't have the assets for that.
But, you're seeing what's happening. CNN's going to go under.
Yeah.
And you know what Trump has? He has a suit against ABC. For how much?
Half a billion?
$10 billion.
$10 billion.
$10 billion.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
We are this. I bet this year the
legacy media is gonna be all gone.
They're gonna be gone.
They're ineffective now, anyway.
Yeah, they're ineffective.
So
they don't realize it. They think they're effective, but they're gonna be gone.
Yeah. Well, I say that's not even true. So I'm saying that they're ineffective, but that's not true. They had half of everybody sold that Trump was Hitler. Like, I would go to, with my work, I'd go and see these elderly people in nursing homes.
Oh, yeah.
They hated Trump
Yeah.
because they didn't know how to
You're
use
right.
their phone. They didn't have X. They didn't have TikTok. They didn't know how to use their phone, and so they hated Trump because.
You're right. You're right.
Let me close this door. I'll be right.
Okay.
You can-
And we're back. You cut that part out. But anyways, so what else has happened on the MAGA train?
Oh man,
What time is the inauguration? Noon tomorrow?
I don't even know.
I think
I'll be at work.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You'll be at work.
Was it-
Golly. What's that guy's name that got sued? And he has a big podcast, conspiracy theory guy. Real big, was around long before anybody else. Got a gross voice.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Man, what's his name? InfoWars. It's InfoWars.
Yeah, it's InfoWars. He says that.
Return the Frogs gay. That guy.
Yeah, that guy. Well, they were.
It's true.
They
It's
actually
accurate.
were.
That was actually true.
But he said that they're going to inaugurate. He has word that now they're going to have the inauguration at midnight tonight.
Oh.
And they're going to have it on televised, not televised, but they're going to record it.
That's intelligent. I think
that's
if someone is trying to kill you and they own the building that you're going to
Yeah.
to get inaugurated in, you might want to do that. Yeah, that's smart. I was worried about that whole situation anyway. You want your people to be around you, and that's a scenario where you can't control that. Yeah. And you've already been shot at. You've already been, grazed by a bullet.
Yeah.
You don't need to take any chance.
I keep going back to Bobby Kennedy. The people that shot him were the people protecting him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He was shot from behind. He wasn't shot from the front. He was shot from behind.
Yeah.
You ought to hear RFK Jr. talk about that. That's what I'm worried about with Trump. Even inside, they don't care what happens. They don't care the fallout. It doesn't matter as long as they get rid of him.
Right. They just have to stop what's coming.
Yeah.
They have to stop the end of the Federal Reserve. That's basically what it is.
Which is something else I wanted to talk to you about. This is another MAGA point. Did you see where Bennett and the other guy with the SEC both said that the Federal Reserve they want to do away with it?
I did not see that.
Yes.
That's exciting, though.
Yes.
That's pretty incredible. And Bennett is going to be the next.
He's the Treasury guy, I believe.
Yeah. Secretary Treasury.
Yeah, Secretary Treasury.
Yeah, that's who we need.
Yeah,
that's who we need. This is just my opinion, but I think the reason that JFK was killed was because he created. What is it? The silver note or whatever. There's the silver currency, and they were replacing the dollar. Is what they were doing. They were eliminating the Federal Reserve because he figured out what was going on.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people say, "Oh, it's because the Israeli pact, whatever," and it's like that's related because it's the same people.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the reason. If they just lost that, they wouldn't have cared.
Right.
But they were going to lose their stranglehold. Right. If you're a criminal who prints money for a living, and they're going to tell you can't print money anymore, and they're just preparing for that, then you're kind of in trouble. That's the end. That's the end.
Right.
And anyways, I hope they can do it because that scheme, to me, that's the center of everything. Because if you have unlimited funds,
you can do anything.
Then you can say, "Oh, the CIA is the problem. The FDA is the problem.
Russia's the problem.
Hamas is the problem. Iran is a problem." Yeah. But you just sent them $1 billion. It's like, or well, how much did they send to Iran? $100 billion? I can't remember.
Yeah,
It was a lot. It was
unbelievable.
a big number. But they create their own enemies.
Well, it was $100 billion.
They fund their
let
own
go.
enemies.
They had confiscated, you might say. They held,
Mm-hmm.
and there was $6 billion in cash, and that's what Obama gave them. Remember those pallets of cash?
I heard about that. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Why is there not an investigation on that? Unbelievable. I mean, this was on all the news outlets. Why would you give Iran cash?
How are you gonna start World War III if Iran doesn't have some weaponry? They got to have money in order to do that. That's what I think it is. I think they generate the wars in order to have somebody to fight. They fund the other side, and just like when they left all the equipment in Afghanistan, it's like, why did you do that?
Yeah.
You did that on purpose. And they were even telling Trump.
$80 billion worth.
The general was telling Trump, oh, it's cheaper if we just leave the equipment. And Trump's like, what? These things cost a lot of money. And
it was $80 billion worth. And you know what they did with it, right? They paraded it. They had a parade.
Made a parade.
With our stuff.
They made a parade of tanks and helicopters. Yeah.
And nobody, they didn't put it on the media at all.
I'm going to go close this door again. Driving me nuts. The door is closed. You get a shot collar. That is enough. You got my attention. You want my attention? You got my attention.
Poor little Tater. That's the name of our dog. The Gorky.
Okay. Bark collar. That'll solve that problem. Now she's gonna be very quiet.
Well, she wanted to come in here anyways, is the problem. And so,
Probably. That's probably all she wants.
Now she's in here and she's good.
Yeah.
She just wanted to be on film.
She's good, but very nervous. Shot collar.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So, let's see. What else has Trump got up his sleeve? He's got 100 things that he's going to sign to executive orders first day. His hands can be tired.
Yeah. 100 signatures.
Hope he has a stamp. It'd be a lot easier.
Yeah. He'll electronically sign it. That would be. That's.
I don't think they let him
I don't.
do that.
Yeah, I don't think that's legal for the president.
I
Yeah.
don't
You
think
got to
so.
sign it.
Yeah.
But
that'll take a while. I mean, think about it. 100 signatures takes a while.
yeah.
It's also hard to do, but it'll be pretty awesome. I mean, the days after that, the news is gonna be all over the place because think about it, 100 major things that had to be signed on the first day that's gonna change this country.
Yeah.
Joe, that's amazing. And I know the other presidents have done a lot of signing and stuff in executive orders, but nothing like Trump. Trump, every one of those orders are going to be earth-shattering. I guarantee you.
Yeah. It's going to be hard for them to keep up.
Yeah.
You know.
I think that's part of his plan.
Yeah. Keep them chasing. Give them enough stuff to chase where they.
Do you know how
can't keep up.
You know how the legacy media and deep state. They show you this shiny object and everybody's focused on that, such as COVID-19. And then they're actually doing something else.
Yeah.
That's kind of what Trump's doing, but
Yeah.
but he's putting it out front. He's just flooding them with stuff. It's kind of like an attorney does when you ask for some information. I want the text from your emails, and all of a sudden you get 50 boxes of it.
Right. And they deliberately put it out of order.
Yeah.
so you can't find the recent
ones.
ones.
All out.
Yeah.
And then, just watch Suits. You'll see how that works.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's what he's doing. He is not only that, he's just trying to accomplish.
Well, I think too he's got a big team behind him, and so you have people monitoring the different things that you're trying to achieve. I mean, I'm sure all of those executive orders, they've been preparing those for 4 years now.
Yeah.
They've had a long time to get ready. I mean, it's kind of an ideal scenario. I am so glad that the 2020 election was rigged because it made people pray for one thing.
Yeah.
Because it was getting bad.
It was getting so bad.
It is bad. I don't know.
I'll be honest with you. I thought there was a 50-50 chance of him winning this time. You know, I really did. I was really worried about it. And,
me too. From where the American citizen sits,
right.
it's hard to tell. You know, we didn't know what the oversight looked like. We just knew we knew they had a lot of people looking at it, but were they going to be effective? Like, how much control do they have? You know, that sort of thing. But I think it's, you know, their scheme kind of worked because people weren't paying attention. But, you know, the sheriffs in these counties, they're not trying to help them rig it. Right. And so, you know, you have an attorney who's supposed to be a watchdog, right, for the Trump, and all he wants to do is just see what's happening, right, and then they can't rig it, right, and that sheriff isn't going to tell them that they can't watch or whatever. So
they really did a great job this time, you know, and a lot of people that wanted to vote that were dead didn't get to vote. It's just that's sad. So. So what other MAGA things have happened this week?
Did we already talk about Colton? We already talked about Colton Moore, didn't we?
Colton Moore.
Did we?
No, we did not.
We didn't talk about him.
What a patriot.
Yeah.
What a patriot.
Very impressive. Very impressive. I guess he's a state senator for Georgia, or state Congress. I don't know.
State senator.
I think state senator. Yeah. But he was. They blocked him from going into the state of the state.
Yeah. He can't vote.
Yeah. They blocked him out where he wasn't allowed to participate.
That'll go to the Supreme Court and he's going to win. There's no doubt in my mind that'll go to the Supreme Court.
I don't know if it'll leave the state. You know, I think it'll win in the state.
I don't think so.
No? You think the judges will get them?
The judges in Virginia, Joe. It's Virginia. Those are the same ones. That's where
it's
DC
Georgia.
is. Georgia.
It's Georgia.
But the other is Virginia. Is what I'm saying. Is that you've got the appellate courts. The judge, you can do whatever you want in Georgia, but when it goes to the appellate courts in Virginia, that's where it really hits, you know, a roadblock. That's where all of Trump's did, hit a roadblock, you know, the appellate courts in Virginia, you know. And then you get to the Supreme Court, and they go, you got to be out of your mind.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, they need to fix that shit.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
the court system is important.
Well, that's why it is important. That's why, you know, and which I don't understand. What I would like to find out is who approved all those federal judges at the very end this year. Because they had to be approved by some Republicans. Yeah. They had to be. Yeah. Who did it? And I think whoever let them slide on that, that's who we need to go ahead and do what is it Elon said, you know.
Vote them out.
Yeah, get them out.
Yeah.
You know.
Get them. They're calling it primaried. Yeah. They need to get primaried. Yeah.
Yeah, they need to get primaried. And that tells you everything you need to know. Yeah. You know, and because that's where our stalling has been. You know, if Trump had not gotten 3 judges in the Supreme Court in his first term,
we would be screwed now. Yeah.
Big time screwed.
Yeah.
You know,
we would be really screwed.
The only thing that shocked me about the Democrats that they did not do, maybe it's because they, you know, knew they couldn't get the votes because you need 2/3 majority, not just a majority, is padding the SCOTUS, you know. Yeah. And if that ever happens, we're screwed. If the Electoral College ever changes, we're screwed. Yeah. You know.
Yeah, they're doing their worst, you know. There is a lot of, you know, you get Trump in there, and that's great. And I think that there's a lot of good that's going to happen. And I don't know, I feel like the system itself is flawed, though. Have you ever thought about, so the federal government is like a centralization, right? And back in the day, they didn't have the communication that we have. Right. What if we created a new sort of decentralized government where the person you voted for, maybe somebody that you go to church with, you know, for your county or your city or whatever, if it was set up where those guys had the power and it was decentralized, like over all the states, you wouldn't have control over like the guy at the top, but nobody would. And, you know, basically you could decentralize it instead of having, you know, like a president, one dude who's signing executive orders. I mean, that's no way to create law. We have a king right now.
You're right.
And we have a good king, right? So that's great, right? But we didn't for 4 years. We didn't for 4 years. We don't want a king. What if we just rewrote it, you know? We're talking about rewriting the Constitution.
Yeah,
and it's a great document, but it could be better. It could be significantly better.
It could be updated.
Yeah, and
it definitely needs to be updated.
We don't need a king. We sure as hell don't want a king. But even the presidency is designed to have checks and balances. But they've eroded. If you can sign an executive order and do whatever you want, then you're a king. If you can sign an executive order and do whatever you want,
but it's
you're
not
a king.
Whatever the executive order is not law. You know, so it's. I mean,
what's the difference?
Yeah, you're right. So, but you know, the executive orders can go to the Supreme Court. You know, and get put down. Something from Congress cannot be put down from SCOTUS. They can't turn it down. They voted on it. This is what you get. People confuse the Supreme Court. They think they can say yay or nay on anything. They can't. They only interpret the law.
Yeah.
That's all they do.
They're not a final decision maker.
Right.
They are an interpreter.
Right. They're an interpreter. And they can interpret that.
And that's eroded.
Yeah,
that's eroded. They've been making laws for a while, and you know, sometimes they do their job, but most of the time they're making law.
Well, I don't think the SCOTUS has made that many laws. You know, but
they made some
on the federal courts have. They have done laws. You know, made laws, and then people don't necessarily, because it costs so much money and time to go all the way up to the Supreme Court. That's not, you know, you have to have millions to do that. You can't, you know, nobody can just do, me and you couldn't do that.
Right, so a lot of precedent.
You can, because you're.
Yeah, I do make a lot of money now. I get what you're saying, though. The precedent gets set in the federal courts without the Supreme Court ever making a decision. And so law is made that way.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And it's whoever has the most money wins, right?
Yeah.
So.
And
the corporations are deciding what the law is, because Joe can't fight them.
Right.
JT can't fight them.
I can't fight them.
You know, so you just lose. You just lose.
Yeah. And because you can't fight them, you don't.
Right. They can appeal indefinitely, and you've got to have millions of dollars if you're going to.
Which brings us back to that guy you were talking about.
Oh, you're talking about Colton Moore?
Yeah, that's what happened. You know, that's what he was talking about.
That's exactly what happened. Yeah. Or it's not exactly. So they didn't even get to have their day in court, is what happened with his. They were.
Well, he didn't have a court case. All he was saying was that this gentleman that y'all want to put a statue up on, you know, did this to people. And what he did was an abomination. It really is. He was getting kickbacks in order for him to take people's cases as as a judge or a I think as a judge.
Anyway,
I'm not positive about that.
But he was on administrative leave, indefinitely.
Right.
And so he was just accumulating these cases, and people were paying him to take their cases so that they'd never go to court because they'd be indefinitely on administrative leave.
For you not to go to jail for life.
Right. And so they give
it's worth $50,000. That's all I got. Okay, go send me $50,000. I'll put it on my docket.
Yeah.
Indefinitely.
Yeah.
You know, and that's exactly what happened.
Right.
You know.
and it was rapists and
oh my
all
God,
kinds of-
murders, he named
yeah.
it. Corporations, every 160 something.
164, I think,
Yeah.
cases that were on his docket
Yeah.
that were just not even, they were just sitting.
Yeah.
They were just
They
sitting there.
would never be seen.
Collecting
by the light.
dust.
Would never be seen in the light of day.
Yeah.
And you can't, the bad thing about that, Joe, they can't even appeal it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's no ruling.
Yeah.
It
That
literally,
is the worst case scenario
Yeah.
in our justice system.
yeah, just literally no justice. I mean, it's the same as if they won,
Yeah.
right?
They did win.
They did win. They just paid their way through. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that, those medals that Biden keeps giving out and Obama keeps giving out, that's the medal I think Trump ought to give to that guy.
Yeah.
You know, he deserves
the
one.
Presidential Medal of Freedom or
Yeah.
something.
He needs a Medal of Honor, where that I mean that's the highest in the land, and generals have to salute to him. The president salutes to whoever gets that medal. You know,
Yeah.
and that guy, he deserves it.
Yeah.
You know, look what he did.
Yeah. No, he stood up to the beast.
Yeah.
He went in there in the assembly and called him out. That video is fantastic.
You can tell in the background. Like
People are standing up and they're like all on edge.
Gosh, shut him up.
And finally the president of the assembly was like, we have decorum rules and
they didn't know
that's enough, sir.
Yeah.
Please yield the
You're
floor.
embarrassing us. Shut the hell up. They didn't say that.
Apparently that guy has a lot of influence because they did not want him to talk.
Yeah.
They didn't want him to talk. I mean, I guess the other half of it too is that it exposes the injustice that goes on in the court systems generally. People don't.
Our court systems are terrible.
They are. They are terrible.
Personally,
They're. It's systematic too, and it's like everything, and that's why I was talking about the way that laws are made. Right? If we could decentralize, that would be the way to go. The court system. This is another systematic problem.
Right.
Where
I don't know how to cure that one.
I haven't thought about it enough. I feel like until you have representation, you don't worry about the other problems.
You got bigger problems.
Right. So right now we don't have representation, which is because of the Democrat and Republican conventions, and they're set up where you don't have a choice. They tell you who you got. You got this guy or this guy, right? And it's based on money, and there's no way for anyone else to compete. So you might have somebody who's the smartest guy who really cares about people and is the perfect person to be your governor or whatever. Or your governor or your judge, right? Because judges a lot of states, judges are elected, not appointed, right? And so, but nobody knows who they are. I go to vote. I don't know who the hell these people are. I'm looking on there and I got an R and a D, and you pick one, and it's like, this is bullshit.
If I don't know them, I don't vote.
Yeah.
I probably should, but I don't. I'm not familiar with these people.
You got an R and a D, and right now it's the R's versus the D's, and it's stupid. It is so stupid.
I've even been to a court case, Joe. I don't think I've ever even told you this. A long, long time ago, and I won't get into details, but this actually happened. I'm in a court case, and this is the second time I had to go to the courts for it, because they didn't show up the first time.
Mm-hmm.
The defendant never showed up. I was a plaintiff.
Yeah.
And they didn't show up the second time. So, so the third time, I was ready. I've got this in the bag, right? I'm going to win this. They didn't show up. So the judge said, well, he'll make a ruling, and we'll, okay, my attorney told me. I get a call from my attorney saying, you lost.
You didn't even get to talk to anybody, huh?
I never even got to say anything. I never even did anything. The defendant never even showed up to court.
What was the case about?
It was a small case.
Small claims,
It was a small claim. It wasn't a big claim or anything like that, but it had to do a house that I bought, and they had misrepresented themselves, in the house. And what it had to do with was I ended up having to replace all the gas valves in the house and everything else. And turned out that the valves, they had been condemned.
Oh, shoot.
And they took the things off.
Oh.
And so when I went and looked at the records and everything else, wait a minute, time out, hey, y'all should have let me know that. You have to,
Yeah, legally, that's illegal.
Yeah, it's part of it. It was a slam
It's a safety hazard.
And I lost the case.
That's crazy.
And I'm the only one that
Did you write like a letter or something explaining it, or
no,
you figured they would just figure it out based on the?
Well, yeah, we had our briefings. What you do is, before you ever go in on a case like that, you write down everything.
Mm-hmm.
You say, okay, this is what blah 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 blah. I went to see, and then this was taken off. And you tell them what happened basically, and then they tell their end. And you've seen Judge Judy, right?
Yeah.
Well, it was a lot more than $5,000. I mean, it was probably about 20,000, 30,000. And that was a long time ago. That was back in
the equivalent to like 50,000.
Yeah, easily. It was in 1995, I think. And but I just couldn't believe that I lost the case. I was so angry at my attorney, I couldn't see straight. And my background, is law.
Yeah.
What the hell is wrong with you? This is case. You can't have an easier case, but I lost it. And he just gives me all this BS and everything else, and then he wants me to pay him.
Of course he does.
I told him I wasn't paying him.
Oh yeah.
I never paid him. Never paid him a dime to this day. I never paid him a dime. He said he's going to take me to court, and I said, well, hopefully you get the same judge. Because I'm not showing up.
Yeah.
Anyways, our court system is ridiculous. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's pathetic. Yep.
So, what else is there on the MAGA front? Can't wait for tomorrow. That's about it. I think it's at noon tomorrow, by the way.
Yeah. I'm excited about it. Hopefully they do what you were talking about and they just have it pre-recorded and just be done.
Put it on the screen.
Yeah. Yeah. He's too important and he's got crosshairs on him right now. So.
If I was him, and I think he would do this, I think what he's thinking about is his family being there too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think he needs to be very, very careful.
Yeah.
Because they'll be up on stage with him, next to him.
I think him and, obviously JD Vance needs a lot of security as well. And I think him and JD, they need to be separate.
Yeah, I agree.
They don't need to be on the same plane. They don't need to be in the same place.
I agree.
There's too much at stake.
Yeah, there's way too much at stake. And these people, they don't care, Joe. They'll figure it out later. They'll make up the narrative later.
Yeah. Right. And what they don't realize is that doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
And they're going, I feel like, this is how I feel about it. I feel like because they lost control of the apps and the social media, they lost. I think it's over. I
don't think so.
Well, there's going to be a fight, but I don't think that there's any way out for them. So if they shot Trump and JD Vance tomorrow, I think they still lose because people can communicate.
88% of Americans believe that John F. Kennedy was killed by our government. What have we done about it? There's the problem.
That wasn't always the case.
I agree.
People didn't believe it, and people who did believe it thought they were by themselves, right? They thought they were, well, I'm the only, I guess me and two guys think this.
Yeah, we're kooks, we're nut jobs, we're conspiracy.
The legacy media. Right now, you have X and TikTok, and if they shot both of them tomorrow, everybody would figure it out. It wouldn't be JFK. And we already...
That's not my point. My point isn't figuring it out. They figured JFK out.
They did, but it took them...
My point is that the people that running, the central bank to me, they don't care if you know.
They didn't.
What are you gonna do? You don't even know who we are.
Well, they didn't care. I don't think that works anymore.
I'm hoping you're right.
It's COVID was a revelation. This whole election cycle has been a revelation, right? People are learning, and it's because we have social media now. People are paying attention. There's freedom of information, and it's because Elon bought X. It's thanks to him and a lot of people. I mean, Joe Rogan's he was a huge part of it, especially the COVID stuff. But people are waking up, and I think as long as there's open communication, they're done. They couldn't afford for that to happen, and it happened. And I think it's too late. So I'm very optimistic.
Put that genie back in that bottle. They're just going to have to learn how to control that. And I don't think there's a way really to control it. And there is, because they kind of sort of had control of it. You can't have an Elon Musk or you can't. You would have had to stop them, and they didn't stop them. They screwed up, and it's too late now. It's over. You know that they did stop him?
What do you mean?
When Elon wanted to buy Twitter.
Yeah.
Okay. Originally, he wanted to buy it. He had the price and everything else. And then they did all this stuff against him and everything. Finally, he just said, never mind. You know what happened? Did you know what happened? They had to investigate it to determine the value, They had to do an appraisal, and it ended up, the appraisal was way lower than what they were claiming the value was. Right. I remember that. Right. But the problem is that he finally, because they stopped it and everything else, he said no. He's not buying it.
Right.
He was forced to buy it. By who? You know by who?
I can't remember.
Stockholders.
Oh, the stockholders.
Yeah, the stock shot up.
The stockholders.
And they all wanted their money.
Yeah.
Twitter, and the courts are going, shit.
Yeah.
We thought we stopped this. Mm-hmm. And now the stockholders are saying, no, we want him to buy it. And he had to buy it.
Yeah.
We were that close to him not having it. Because he'd given up on it.
Right. Well, he didn't want to get financially screwed.
Right.
But then I think, I don't know. He did get financially screwed, but then in the end it worked out. Yeah. Right. So now it's worth so much. But so it worked out. But yeah, I don't know. That is pretty crazy. I guess
it bit him in the butt.
Yeah, the deep state lost that one. Yeah. And I guess it was because of the shareholders. Yeah. I didn't even realize. I was thinking, I didn't realize who it was that was forcing him to buy it. Yeah. I knew he was like essentially
they forced him to come back to the table and buy it.
Yeah.
Because they said, hey, look, if you don't, our stock is going to plummet.
Right, because their true value of their company was revealed, which is so bizarre because they were artificially inflating the value of their company, and now he's responsible. And yeah, that was interesting.
Alrighty.
Well, it's been fun. Yep. Episode 2, I guess, of Maga Debrief.
Tomorrow we're gonna have to do one tomorrow evening.
That's true.
For the inauguration, because. We don't know what's going to happen, just like that guy said for the National Security Agency.
Yeah. All right. The head of national security, he did say, I might have to be back up here if something happens, which is very likely. It's like, what are you talking about? You're not going to stop it, right? Yeah. If you know about it, right? Yeah. That guy.
What a joke.
That's hilarious. Yeah.
That's who I got running our country. Mm-hmm. Making us feel nice, warm, fuzzy.
Yeah.
And knowing we sleep at night.
I felt like he was talking about Trump being assassinated, right? That's what I felt.
That's exactly what it was.
Oh, we were on to the Iranians, but we couldn't stop them. That they'd give us some sort of horse shit. Yeah. And then it'd be like, oh, now we have to go to war, right? Yeah. That's what their game plan is. Yeah.
Here's the shiny object. Here it is. It's Iran. They're the ones that did it. I don't think Osama bin Laden took down the towers.
We just went through this though. And it's just like with Iraq. We went to Iraq. We bombed the hell out of them. We did all this stuff. But people know it now. People know that the information was false and that they knew it was false. And that they were, they wanted to go to war. That's all it was. We wanted to go to war, and we were willing to lie to
There
you
were
to do
7
it.
countries they wanted to go to war with. There's only one left, Joe.
Mm.
It's Iran.
Yeah, Iran and Russia.
No, Russia wasn't on that list.
Oh, you're talking about the list.
Yeah, the list. Yeah.
Whose list was that?
That was in the CIA.
That was CIA.
Yeah, CIA. And remember the guy came out and said that they're crazy? I'm talking about Bush now, not Obama or this is way back when. Man, they want to go to war with Iran.
Yeah.
What? What are you talking about? No way. Oh, man. That's a general talking.
Yeah.
I don't know. They just,
Yeah. Well, it's no big deal if you do it the way that they're doing it, right? Because you're not even trying to win.
Yeah.
You
don't
send
wanna
boys
win,
over there to
wanna-
get shot. That's all you're doing. And then you're billing the taxpayer half of, I don't even know what the numbers look like now. It used to be like 500 million. Now it's probably
Well, Trump said that Iran cost us $9 trillion.
Iran.
The Iran thing cost
Iraq?
Iraq. I'm not sorry. Iraq cost us $9 trillion over time.
Yeah.
And he's still, he said, what do we got?
Yeah,
for it?
20 something years.
Yeah.
Iraq.
And it's still costing us.
Yeah.
We've got nothing for it.
Yeah.
We got nothing for it. The United States didn't get nothing for it. Somebody got something for it.
Right. It's a money laundering operation anyway, and it's like, oh well, this war is really expensive, and then there's like money going to Raytheon and all of that stuff. Though it's just like, I think the easiest example is the space industry, just because it just got blown up, right?
Yeah.
SpaceX took over, and you just happen to have a legitimate company start actually doing it. Yeah. And then you're like, why?
At less than 1/10 of the cost.
Yeah. Why did it cost so much? And that's because it's money laundering is all it is. They're not trying to succeed even.
Yeah.
So on the one hand, you're getting ripped off and it's like, oh, that sucks. They're holding back human progress.
Yeah.
We could have had SpaceX
50
years ago. I mean, it's absurd.
Why did we stop at the moon?
I know. Well, it's because it was a money laundering operation. That's why. And I mean, I guess, well, that was kind of a unique situation too, because JFK wanted to get there, right?
Right.
You had a leader pushing it. And that's what you have with Elon Musk, right? He's a leader and he's pushing it. Yeah. And he has his own goal. So he's motivated, and he didn't. Now he's a rare exception, just because most people in that position, we were talking about competition in business. Mm-hmm. Most people, if they don't have a competitor and they can collect the check, then that's all they want.
Right.
Elon Musk, his motivation
is not money.
And it's sort of I would say it's a moral reason, right? It's for and we have a different worldview on this, but it's for the maintaining the existence of consciousness.
Right.
He's a materialist, so he thinks that consciousness, that's it. You and I know better, I would say, right. but it's still
he'll come around.
He'll find God somewhere.
He is.
But he believes in love and family, right? So, and if you got that, eventually you're going to get there.
He's going to get there.
But
he's around too many good people now
that's true too. There's so many awesome people in the Trump cabinet that are just amazing people.
What is wrong with me? That's what he's going to end up doing. Either I'm crazy or they're crazy.
You look hard enough, man. Seeking you will find. Yeah. So, and to me, he's gonna find it fast too, just because he's freaking smart. Once he looks, he's gonna find
Jordan
it fast.
Peterson.
Yeah.
He
it's funny because he was talking about it. He dismissed the idea of God when he was like 6 or something like that.
Yeah.
And he bought the materialism pill is what he did, and he took the pill and he was like, I don't have to worry in the dark at night because it's just photons, right? And all this. I mean, he was describing his atheism or whatever. Whenever
His trip to
his,
atheism.
his trip to materialism, or whatever you want to call it. But I think he'll find out.
I think he will.
I'll figure
I really do. I see the same pattern with all these other people.
Yeah,
know?
Jordan Peterson,
Yeah,
Tucker
Joe
Carlson,
Rogan.
Joe Rogan's coming around.
Joe Rogan has not admitted, but he does.
He's teetering there. Yeah.
Peterson did admit. He says Jesus Christ is God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Historically, it's hard if you believe in history. It's hard to avoid.
Yeah.
It's really hard to avoid.
Yeah.
But just his motivation, right? He's an exception in that he didn't need another business competing with him to succeed. He was motivated to do it. He didn't need any other force. He didn't need the risk of failure and being overtaken by another company. Yeah. He didn't need competition. Yeah. He was trying to achieve a goal.
Money to begin with.
Yeah, it didn't have anything to do with money. It didn't have anything to do with beating anybody. Mm-hmm. He wanted to get there.
Remember, if his fourth rocket wouldn't have gone off, SpaceX would not be around.
Yeah.
And he shot it. And it worked, Yeah.
That video of him watching that, you could, oh man, and it's beautiful. I think there's a reason that you have so much evil in the world, but that's where adversity comes from.
Yeah.
You would have never seen that look in his eyes. It's just like, I made it, right? You would have never seen that. Adversity is a beautiful.
The sad part about Elon in that position is he had nobody to thank. JFK said that. He says the thing about atheists is when you look at the world and its beauty around you, you have nobody to thank.
Yeah.
That's something. That's tremendous. And that's why I think about all the time. And that's Elon. Who did he have to thank?
Mm. Yeah. He will.
It could have just as well blown up.
It could have. If God's plan had been a little different.
Yeah.
People don't take that into account enough. But just like with Trump dodging the bullet, he shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Just to turn the head. Just to turn the head. And God has a plan. And
he didn't miss. The guy didn't miss.
No, he didn't. He didn't miss. He was on target. And Trump turned his head. And
all right.
The rest is history. Anyways,
tomorrow.
We're gonna be back on tomorrow talking about the inauguration that was successful, where Trump did not get shot. Right.
Yes.
All right.
Either way, we'll be here.
All right. Been fun.
Good.